Yaser, can you hear me? I
Super apologize. That's my fault. My mic was muted. I apologize, Irfan Bhai. It is me. Sorry, technical difficulties. Just I'm not my full self today. Assalamualaikum. If you guys have not heard it yet, Irfan Bhai needs no introduction. He is actually uh, one of the founding people with some of the youth work. We all have heard stories about him in Young Muslims, a lot of the youth work. We've heard him before, and we heard of him. And a lot of us, at least for me, I was in the western suburbs, but I mean, from the north side, guys, in YM, and we all of us here hails from like the legendary Sainin or eras from previous past. Not a reference right there. But yes, we heard a lot about Irfan Bhai. We want to hear about some of how the youth work started and some advice on getting, for all of us out here, especially a lot of us as we're young professionals now having our own children, just like you. What advice do you have as an elder who used to do a lot of youth work and subhanAllah, just enlighten us, inshallah. So sorry about the technicalities. Let's get started, inshallah. Go ahead, Irfan Bhai.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Um, Ask any question, specific question, but I just have this to say. Um, it's very difficult to push a stalled car and make it move. It's hard to move a stalled car. It takes a lot of effort. Once it starts moving, it's easy to jump on it and keep it moving. So
Mm.
starting an organization is very difficult. You need people who are dedicated. You need people who can spend time, their money, effort, and everything. At times, they have to sacrifice their personal stuff, including schooling and other things. So back in 1989, 90, I saw some youth. I worked around Navy Pier, across from Baja Beach Club. I don't know if it's still there, but working next to a Pacifico police station, I started seeing some young Muslims back in '89. They would come there with their girlfriends and stuff at night. I worked all night. So I started thinking, what's going on here? I said, the parents don't have time. They're coming to this country. They're trying to establish themselves. They're looking for jobs, settle down. They don't understand where they have come and what's going on with their kids. Our kids, born and raised in this country, do not belong to Pakistan, India, or Middle East. They are American. And we don't have a gap. There is no gap, generation gap.
Uh,
There is a complete disconnect.
I think, I mean, there is that disconnect between parents and kids, but do you think now in 2020, for example, my kids, my sons, my nephews, do you think that gap is greater for first generation versus, second generation or fresh off the boat, in our case, fresh off the planes?
I moved to Tucson, Arizona about 10 years ago. So I
Mm.
have not seen the Chicago brothers who were once youth, young guys, now they're married and they have kids. But what I hear and what I've seen here in Tucson, it's a small community. It's a community of 6 to 8,000 people, mostly Middle Eastern refugees, some Indian Pakistanis, and but they are mostly doctors. So they have their own world, right? Doctors have
Uh-huh.
their own. What I have seen, kids who have been raised in America, particularly in, for example, Tucson, they didn't have a chance because of the way their parents think, I guess, to have an organization. So it's a different story in Tucson. They did not have a chance to grow up in a group or have their own association where they can discuss things. They can bring up their difficulties. They can talk about things. Maybe in a group, sometimes one or two individuals go down, but the rest of the people bring them up. That's what works. I believe growing up in America, you're going to make mistakes, and you should be able to forgive and move on and try to rescue it. In Chicago, what I have heard so far, the difficulty is that I think we could not sustain the brotherhood, that level of the brotherhood and the dedication. So our own members going through the similar difficulties that a common person does with their kids, it's a failure to me. We should not have had that situation.
That's a very interesting point, and I actually think, first of all, man, I've been to Tucson, Arizona before. Been
Oh,
to visit the Grand Canyon. Oh, it was
it is.
beautiful. I mean, I had some interesting experiences. I was in Texas. I have relatives both in Dallas and Houston. Shout out to my second cousins out there. And subhanallah, how perfect is Allah? Like the experiences that I have there, I honestly think when you think of the Muslim community, you have to be like, you have to travel a little bit. You have to check out the East Coast, and I've gotten the blessings and opportunities to do that. You have to go to Texas, if you want to go somewhere far and exotic to learn about Islam, Texas is as desert as it comes. But I remember I was in Texas and usually, when you travel, you rent like a car or so, but I wanted to, for fun, get like a Mini Cooper or something small. Big mistake, especially when you're in Texas. Everybody has pickup trucks,
Yeah,
and all I know is literally Tucson. You mentioned Arizona. Love that city. So beautiful. The housing, the architecture,
very different
and I'm kind
country.
of jealous because the weather's nicer there.
Very nice. Yep. Uh,
Yeah, you were earlier. You were showing me outside, and I was kind of envious that I was like, "Oh wow,
yeah, yeah.
mashallah."
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, it's very different landscape. It has its own beauty. It's beautiful. But Yasir, I want to say something about the youth. I
mhm.
think you guys, born and raised in America, I think you guys should have set up in different areas, south, north, east, west, Villa Park, Bolingbrook, Northwood, some hangouts. Maybe have a member start some kind of restaurants, members only. Just a hangout place, not a hookah bar, but some place where youth can get together with each other and have just few items, maybe coffee, kahwa, tea, and two, three dry items like samosa. Not a big thing. Where you're gathered and you should appoint one brother, not necessarily neighborhood coordinator, but someone who is a little
Yes,
bit older, but who can just walk around, pay attention to what's being talked about, some political things, day-to-day news that you read in the newspaper, and see what people are saying, their comments, and then try to insert a message in the discussion. That's how you need to think. Just you don't have to make it religious. You don't have to talk about religion, but just basically
yes,
pass on the concept.
yes. And actually, I so much of the things that we learn are actually from being around some of this talk. So I wanted to actually before what happened real quick? Can you not hear me? Is that what's going on? What's going on? You guys can hear me, right? Anyway, but I actually just wanted to just MYO, like before YM, there was Muslim Youth Organization, which is interesting, has to do with that. But actually, I quickly changed the background to Salah time just because I'm in the Central Standard Zone and you're in Arizona. So in case people don't know, because a lot of my viewers are from the Midwest and actually East Coast, but just explain everything. So it currently is 5:40 here. What time is it for you?
440.
Yes. So when you travel east, right, you lose time. When you travel west, you gain time because the sun, rises from the east and sets in the west. Just in case people wanted to know, people aren't aware. But I actually agree with that because one thing I did want to address is so many YM activists. In fact, shout out to we talked about Omar Maqit, Omar OG, Omer Wadiwala, Sayed, some of these Northside guys whom I know. I Tariq Weaver, also Hamid. I ran into him about a month ago. All of these guys, just because you were active in your youth, and then college happened, and then life happens. What happened? Why'd you fall off the earth? Why do you have to what happened to your activism? What happened to your brotherhood? Now, as you get older, you have to make an active effort to keep in touch with those people. So even if I'm like, go out of your way, make that call, go talk to them. Pandemic, there's no excuse. There's people like, for example, I attempt to reach out and other things too. You got to meet halfway on the bridge. But all of us now, as you're older, Irfan Bhai, you can testify to this. You have to go out of your way. You have to travel to go see your friends. You have to make that time to call them. Everyone gets busy. That's just the nature of life, right? So, Irfan Bhai, can you tell some of the names of the people that you had NeighborNet with, which is a network of neighbors? Halaqa, a little
Yeah.
gathering once a week when you get together.
Yeah. Hey, you talk about the time zones. Let me just say that Not everybody knows that Arizona never changes time. Only state where we do not change time. We don't go forward or
Huh.
backward. We stay the same. So when you guys
You know,
change
I wish
time, the difference is 2 hours, and nowadays it's 1 hour.
actually that's why I was confused because when you said that that's your time, I was like, oh, I didn't know that you guys didn't change. Oh, I mean, honestly, I don't like changing time, but I kind of try to synchronize my day with the Qayluda and Dhuhr, try to maximize my workday. And winter really kind of messes me up. I like riding my bicycle. I like going out. No, in Chicago, there's a reason I'm a gamer or resort to other things is because in the wintertime, oh my god, it's like 3, 4 o'clock, it's already dark outside.
Yeah.
So like, what about so when you guys don't change times in the wintertime, what time is Maghrib for you?
About 5:20.
Okay. And what about in the summertime? 8:30 is Maghrib?
It goes around like 8, yeah, 7:30,
Okay.
7:45. So,
Subhanallah.
Yasser, we started out right. So when we started
Mm.
UK, I worked nights 11 to 7, and I went to Luke College, now called Harold Washington, and later in '89 I moved to UIC, University of Illinois. So I worked nights and I had time during the day. That's why I worked nights. I had time during the day. So I made myself available. I would spend a lot of time around Method High School on Peterson and California. There I got in touch with some youth. But right at the same time, I started teaching at MCC's weekend school, Sunday school. So I got in touch with 3 or 4 guys. Mahmoud Khan, Anis, Dr. Anis, now he's doctor. Uh, Rashid Ali Khan is a big name on Diwan, and his son Ershad Khan. And there were Aslam Ali, who is, I think, is involved with our Dawa or helping hand work. He lives in this plains. And there was one more person. But these are the 4, 5 original, the founders, so to say.
Uh-huh.
So I taught them in at MCC, at Sunday school, and how I got them engaged was I would say, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. If your answer is right, I'll give you $2. If it's wrong, I'll give you $1.
So you bribed
I
them? You bribed
got him into this. So I was known in MCC as the dollar man. The dollar man. But the thing
And
is,
how young were you at this time, Irfan Bhai?
how old?
Well, like what was
24.
yes, yeah. How young? How young?
Yeah. So then finally we took those guys one day for a pizza party and said, look, Islam is not just about masjid. You need to understand it's a lifestyle. You have to carry it with you. So then we started working at Mathur High School. We got Faisal, Wasif, Amir Bawani, many people. Then they
Uh,
were so much into this and charged that they said, let's go to other schools. So we started working at Sen High School, Roosevelt, Von Steuben, Niles North, Niles West, Taft, like 6, 7. So we would spend time, cut classes, okay? Even I would leave my classes, my final exam to go do something. That's bad. This is not my advice.
yeah, yeah. Don't be so dedicated that you compromise
Right,
your education.
right.
But I was gonna say, subhanAllah, a lot of the people listening, and I know if they're not live right now, the 54 people and such, but I don't know where they are if they're commenting or joining. But a lot of the youth now, subhanAllah, you mentioned Faisal Bhai, Salman Bhai, Harun Bhai, they're kids now. Like I talked, like there's Quran, there was literally teaching Quran and Alif Bata. They're kids now, they're YM age. Like Faisal Bhai's kids, shout out to Saif and Safi. Salman Bhai's kids, Zaid, Umair, and
Yeah.
so many people, and and Mahmoud Bhai. Oh, subhanallah. Like I heard some. You mentioned the schools again. I just hear of these schools, and it's very very interesting. Lane Tech, I hear a lot about. Mather, I hear a lot about too. And shout out to Amjad and Nurdana.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I Amjad?
Noor Thana
Such
and Qadri.
and Abdullah
Yeah.
Dana, correct.
Sayyid Qadri, they actually visited me like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So,
I'm
yeah, there are
sure.
many. Within first couple
Uh,
of years, there were many. So we
yes.
started groups, right? We started a group in the Diwan area called Abu Bakr Group. We started one in Bowling Group, your area. I think it was called Omar Group. And then one in the west side was called, Ali. And there was one in Lincolnwood. Lincolnwood one was called Ali, and there was another one, for the fourth caliph, Abu Bakr, Omar, Ali, and Usman. Usman Group. So that's how we started. And then after that,
You named the four groups the companions.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know the four.
right. So we started with four groups. We named them after companions. Then
Yeah.
by that time, all these kids, these guys now they're in their 40s, they joined the group when they were in high school. So they had the
Uh-huh.
key to my apartment. I lived alone. So at one time, 16 guys had the key to my apartment. I would come home and find many of them just sleeping on the carpet and some meat, chicken, fish in the kitchen with the note, "Irfan Bhai, cook it for us." But my place had become their, the hangout place. Then they graduated, went to colleges, and we started establishing MSA everywhere. So MSA was at UIC, DePaul, and Loyola and few universities. We started MSA at different junior colleges and some universities, and we actually formed the MSA of Illinois. And all the MSA, there was a time when all the MSAs were headed by YM. So whatever we plan in our meeting would be implemented in different MSAs. But maybe I'm talking too much, Yasser, right? But a lot
I know
went in.
that.
A lot went in. Many brothers were so dedicated that these kids would
Mhm.
wash cars and bring me the money and say, let's do another activity. They would,
So
go ahead.
I was going to mention a lot of people don't know this, but a lot like even in a lot of the high school MSAs and college MSAs, especially high school MSAs, it was the brothers from the young Muslims, the halaqah, the neighbornet that went and started these MSAs, were MSA presidents, and literally being these workers. It's an Islamic worker. That's what you do. You gather the ummah together. The MSA is also the AKA the ummah on campus. So like they say, oh, I don't want to get involved. I don't, so you're telling me, you're not gonna help establish Iqamat ad-Din, like, and you mentioned actually, like, oh man, I just think that it's interesting that how you mentioned that neighbor nets or the groups were named after the companions. I remember I was in Egypt, and that's how they labeled some of the things at the workshops. It was awesome because there was like 10 tables and there were the 10 ashara mubashara. I think that's sometimes something that a tradition that we miss. Not, during my days, we used to call like the Islamic Foundation Villa Park Neighbornet West Side. We wanted to take some pride, like we're like some the West Side story. Like then there was North Side, but then there was IFN, so they were technically more north. And then there was Des Plaines, and then there was Niles Neighbornet, and Wooddale and shot. Like it was just very interesting. That the identity that kids kind of just create and make. But I mean, all of this kind of comes back that with this attitude that yes, you got to go out of your way. Even back home, a lot of the work begins with the youth. Like even in Islam, the first people who accepted Islam, right after Khadija and stuff, was Ali and the youth. We a lot of times they did get you dismissed like, oh, what are kids gonna do? No, I mean, but it's about balance, deen and dunya, and I mean, if you want to just kind of, I want to wrap up a little bit, but some advice that we would have in this, especially pandemic time, for this type of work or any understanding the history. Why is it important?
Yasser, I know staying home is very difficult anyway, right? You are young, you want to go out, do things. For youth, it's important that you position yourself appropriately in the society. Do not compromise on your education. Make sure you are in a profession. You can earn enough so that you can think about others. I have seen in my life amazing people with amazing qualities. They just went down because they just couldn't take care of their family. So they're out of the game. Fateh Yakan is a author from Egypt. He wrote a book, Islam Between Extremism and Rejectionism. And
Mm.
the foreword of the book says, the failure of an Islamic worker is worse than the failure of a whole society. Because you represent hope. You are gone, the hope is gone. So don't fail. Do not fail. That's number one. Secondly, when you have time, like during this COVID-19, study, read books, history, the rise and fall of Islam, how the movements have taken place, what made them fail, what happened to them, why staying away from school of thought business, tech business, and making outgoing over it is useless. Learn from the Turkey. How many times I've seen this history. how one after another organization was dismantled or was forced to change their names, but they kept coming back. They kept improving. So that's the one part of the movement we need to understand. It's dynamic. It's not static. Imams ABC said that in 800, or 780 or 900 or 1080. No, no, no. You keep moving. Go ahead.
One thing I just want to mention is you mentioned movement and you mentioned even like being dynamic. I agree with that. And I was just going to say, but what about the clique culture? Oh, the Maghrib crowd, the Bayina crowd, the so many different crowds. Oh, you're this group, you're that group, and I want to ask you that
Yes.
question, and I actually had a point to make as well too. But go
So
ahead.
we had, I talked to a brother, and that brother, Yaser Qadi is a son of Mother Qazi, and he was a guy, Mother Qazi. Just like you
Correct.
guys, he used to be, of course, a kid. You remember that. So that brother talked to Yaser Qadi, and he said, "You teach so many people every year, Al Maghrib, and then the other institution. Yeah, it's good. All these institutions to have Noman Ali, Yasser Qadi, learn from wherever you can, right? In my opinion, you should learn from now Noman Ali about Quran. You should learn from the history and the hadith from Yasser Qadi. And look, for the Tahriq stuff, Sohail Wahab, Yusuf Rios, and Yahya Adler in Maryland, and there are other people. But all these are inputs. You're getting all the input. What do you do with all that input, all the knowledge? You have to understand we are here to establish something. We may not be able to establish, that's fine, but we are here to put our efforts towards that end. Think about this, brother. So, anyway, when you're home, read books, read Christian books. I have read, let me show you. Well, there are a lot of books right behind me written by Christians and Jews about on the topics of youth, raising kids, family, activism. Amazing books, amazing. One of the best book on activism is, I think I shared that book on a WhatsApp group of YM Chicago. It's a why you can't stay silent. Why you can't stay silent. Great
Yes.
book.
Well, Subhanallah. And you know what? I love the bookshelf behind you, and literally it speaks volumes of you. In fact, I actually started this about a year ago. I have a small bookshelf, and literally only the books that I have read are in that bookshelf because I didn't like having large bookshelves and I didn't get to them. So I made it a point that, okay, all my school books, all my things books, and I have 2 or 3 compartments, and I make sure there's a bookshelf of books I've read, stuff that I'm reading, and we kind of prioritize that and read. And actually, one other thing that I want to mention is, subhanAllah, those names you mentioned, they're all like triggering in my head because I would like to say, if any of you guys know my younger brother, Qaisar Aslam Chapan Qaisar, and even Sheikh Tariq Musleh or Faizan Mumtaz or, Dr. Eric Pania, Usman Khan, like some of these guys from our YM study circle, we helped Sohaib Webb move when we were in Egypt studying Arabic. Noman Ali Khan, alhamdulillah, when the couple of years he came to Chicago before Bayina was even a big thing, alhamdulillah, company of staying with us, spending time with him, commuting with him, all that. With Sam Sharif, if you're out there, remember that time that I saw you in your banyan, right? Or Sheikh Abdul Nasser Janga wearing those Converse, those Chuck Taylors, playing ball with the YM guys on youth conference. Subhanallah, all of these guys, and Sheikh Yusuf Rios, alhamdulillah, here in the ICNA Chicago office now, amazing, from Puerto Rico, amazing father, role model, so much knowledge. And you know what? It's not like I have a label, hey, the YM guy. No, I went to several Al-Maghrib classes, like Bayina rep for the region, like so many things, man. All of these things, I've gone to Ta'lif, I've gone to, like, you don't, it's not like a lot of young people, or new Muslims even have a mentality of like the Krubs, like a gang mentality when it comes to Islam. And no, Islam is not a noun, or religion is not that. It's like a verb. It's like a journey, right? And all of us are supposed to be on a path to better ourselves. So like when we see things like, oh, I listened to that podcast, oh, I'm this audience, I'm that. I'm just like, yeah, take the good, leave the bad, move on. Because the whole point of Salah, the whole point of the movement even is that, okay, what do? No matter what, rich, tall, you whatever and that thing you are, we all stand together in prayer and we face the Qibla. It doesn't matter. Yeah, oh, you're Shia, that's cool. Come on, let's work together to make the world a better place. Oh, you're. Am I saying something wrong, Irfan Bhai, or?
No, no, no. Keep that. It's all fine. It's just great. So
Oh
Yasir,
yeah, but like, go ahead.
no, I mentioned the book. I think if anybody is, here, try to read a book, next month or so. One is written by Tom Minery. It's called Why You Can't Stay Silent. Brother, it's an amazing book from a Christian, amazing book. If I could translate that into or convert that into an Islamic book, I would love to do that. The second book is written by John White. He's written many books. The title of that book is Cost of the Commitment. The cost of commitment you make. There is a cost to it. Brother, amazing. I read those books and I was burning for next few days. I was like, let's do something more. But these are the things. I focus on the Quran, learn from wherever you want to learn. But then remember, your base is Quran, and then after that Sunnah. And I think what you don't have a chance to read a book called Sirah Sarwar Alam, written by Sayyid Maududi, Sirat-e Sarwar Alam, or Sirah of the Leader of the World. It has not been translated into English. It's two huge volumes. I plan to very soon start a YouTube channel and translate that into English for our youth.
Oh yeah, and if you need help, I'm just a phone call away.
Inshallah,
So
inshallah. Quran and Sirah book.
what was that first book that you mentioned? I'm just curious. The ones that are not in English yet, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I can't recommend them until that's possible. What was it?
About activism is, wallahi, alhamdulillah, I'm old, but I have read hundreds of books. I think this book is amazing. Why you can't stay silent, by Tom Minery, Minery. The second book is by John White, and he has written many. I have several books written by him, good books. But this one is really touching. It touches your heart. It pushes you. It makes you think what you're doing. So I had the chance to went to a gathering, Pakistani gathering. They were all doctors, about 35, 40. And they asked me to talk for 5 minutes. So I asked their kids in high school, college, what do you want to do? What's your goal in life? And they're like, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be this. I want to visit Switzerland or Hawaii, and all is fine. Have a good wife, have a good house on the mountain, and basically good profession, and try to help Ummah. Basically, I can donate. So I asked them, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had all this before he was anointed as well. He had the money, beautiful wife, respect, everything. So what happened after he was made a prophet? And he said, go and make the dawah. What happened to him? He lost it all. People stopped respecting him in that way. He lost his wife. He was poor. When he died, he was hungry for 2 days. Why? What was it that made him do this? So I said, where we want to end, we started from there. So, but again,
Correct.
we're not prophets. I'm not saying sacrifice all this. I'm saying spend good time on those things. They're going to help you, your family, and your kids.
Uh-huh. Well, I wanted to just jump in and say one thing that, again, what I mentioned earlier about balance, so true. Prophet Muhammad in his youth, 25 to he was a family man. He was like, if you read the seerah, how beautiful it is that his daughters, their age and all that. Like, figure out these ages, read about this man. Look at him as a human first, and then all of these things too. Are to the youth listening, balance in that sense that don't do the work to the point where you neglect your family. But then don't be so involved in your family that you neglect the work. We, especially as dudes, we go to the mosque. We not so much anymore because of the pandemic, but we are we're responsible for our side of the house. That means actually we have a commitment. We cannot live somewhere and we see injustice and not do anything about it. Part of our faith is you cannot divorce our social justice and Islam. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to serve God, but no, you have to serve your fellow man. When it comes to all these things, the social justice and Black Lives Matter and all of these things, we should be at the forefront. SubhanAllah.
Okay,
Encourage everyone.
Let's equip ourselves. You said Black Lives Matter and stuff, right? Think about this, guys.
Yeah.
When Prophet started working as a da'i, the society had many problems. They were burning like their daughters. The slaves were having hard time. The women were treated badly and stuff like. Did he say, "I'm going to create a labor union first, or I'm going to save the kids first, or I'm going to talk about the slaves first"? No. He pinpointed. He said, "First, let's believe in one God." No, it's not a theory. It says, I agree that I'm going to live by a set of principles that comes from divine guidance, through divine guidance. If we agree on that, then we're going to solve everything else, right? Right? So he
Yeah.
focused on that.
Yes, correct.
Right. So when you, first of all, nowadays, please take advantage of the time and read several good books. I can recommend some more, brother Yasir, particularly the ones that talk about raising kids. I think we have. I've been thinking about this for 10, 15 years to write a book because I truthfully read dozens of books. I took Christian courses, how to raise kids and exercises and stuff. I failed to write something because I have my own responsibility. But I guess time is close. But read because you have kids, you need to focus. Some IM guys has to be fun. Right.
So one thing amazing that I remember hearing from Brother Tayyib Yunus very recently was that, hey, what's something that you could do is read tafsir to your kids or read the Quran to them before you sleep. Literally open it up at night before you read it, and that's what you could do. That's some amazing advice that you could do. Do something consistent. Bedtime stories. Like it'll be something worthwhile. And I also wanted to end off with I was going to it slipped my mind now. But yes, Jazakallahu khairan, Irfan Bhai. Oh yes. One thing is I wanted to actually just talk about when I remember in our WhatsApp conversation we're talking about Irfan Khan. I thought your last name was Khan, but it's actually Sheikh, or is it Sarwar? Sarwar, yes. So I got that confused. I got you confused with somebody, but I actually wanted to show real quick. Irfan Ahmad Khan was actually someone here in the Chicagoland area, and he was actually a close friend of my late grandfather, my dada, and now he's passed away as well too. And he was someone in the Chicagoland area that, man, subhanallah, like he's written a tafsir of Surah, Baqarah and Fatiha, and he spent his entire life trying to encourage people, and he's particularly lived in certain areas as well too, just so he can move on to that. So I wanted to kind of just share some of that content sometime when we get, and yeah, but you get the idea. I was not going to go too much into it, but when I said Irfan Bhai, I kind of, everyone in the Chicagoland area, when you think of OG, like the original gangsters, these names come to mind. So Jazakumullah khairan, Irfan Bhai, and those books are awesome. I will encourage everybody to kind of take a look. And yeah, I wanted you to give a few more closing things, inshallah.
Okay. So you're going to read some books, and I'll share with you a list of books that I really recommend you guys to do. And when you get, brother, this is a one big mistake people make. Why am always think what is an activity? Activity versus accomplishment. We do a lot of run around, but for what? What are you accomplishing? So always get involved when there is a reason and there is at the end you're getting something. Don't just keep doing, I don't know, dinners and stuff if there is nothing coming out of it. Secondly, whatever you do, ask why I'm doing this, right? What is it that I'm getting out of it? Before you sacrifice your time with your family and go and do such stuff. We did a lot of activities for nothing. We accomplished nothing. Always evaluate and change. Be willing to revise your plans and your involvement with different people.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Inshallah, Irfan Bhai, we will have you back sometime. And thank you for reaching out. And Chicago misses you. And if you're ever in town, please, we have to respect our elders. And thank you for all the time that you've spent mentoring us, the generations, and even those you mentored, who you mentored. Let's do our best to, do our best. One last thought that I had, inshallah, is when you said about writing books, let me know if you need help. But did Maududi say this? Or am I wrong for saying I don't write books? I write men.
No, he did. The one who started in mass in Egypt, brother Hassan al-Banna.
Hassan al-Banna. Okay. Subhanallah. Okay. All of us out there, guys, strive, read, And this is an excellent opportunity to. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.